The escape the wind was cold on their faces as they ran through the dark forest. Leaves cracked under their feet, and small lights flashed in the trees. The sky above them was black with red clouds moving fast. One girl looked behind and whispered something in a strange language. The other girl held her hand tighter and pulled her forward. They had no name and no home. They wore thin silver cloth that was torn and dirty. Their hair was long and wild, and their eyes were wide with fear. Something was following them, something big and fast and full of noise. The first girl looked at her sister and said softly, "We cannot stop." The second girl nodded. Her feet were bleeding. Her breath was short, but she did not stop. Behind them, the forest screamed. A loud, sharp sound came through the trees, like a machine, like metal tearing the air. They knew that sound. It meant the hunter was close. They ran toward a small hill where the trees opened into a round space. In the middle was a stone. The stone was not normal. It was smooth and shining. There were marks on it, strange marks, old marks, marks the girls had seen only once before. On a secret screen deep in the lab, the second girl touched the stone. Her hand shook. The stone was warm, too warm. Then a light came from under it, soft and white at first, then blue and strong. The light grew into a shape, a circle of air, a hole in the sky. The first girl gasped. "It is real. The portal is real." They looked at each other. This was the only way out. No more cages, no more tests, no more cold food and metal beds. They had no idea where the portal went, but they knew what was behind them. And they chose the unknown. The light from the portal touched their faces. It felt like hope. It felt like life. Then behind them a scream, not human, sharp, loud, full of anger and metal. The hunter had found them. The light of the portal flickered. One girl pushed the other forward. "Go now." The second girl stepped into the light and vanished. The first girl turned once and saw it, a tall black machine with red lights for eyes. It raised its long arm. Something glowed on it. She jumped. The world turned white. There was no sound, no forest, no machine, only light. And then she was on the ground, cold, wet, but different. She opened her eyes and saw a sky with stars, small stars, real stars. She sat up. The other girl was there, alive, shaking, but alive. And then they heard a voice. It was deep and warm, not like the voices they knew, not like the cold metal of the lab. It said, "Are you hurt? Do you understand me? Are you from the portal?" They looked. A man stood near them, tall, human, wearing dark clothes. His face looked strong but kind. He held something in his hand that glowed red, but his other hand was open. First girl tried to speak. Her voice cracked. "We ran. We had to run." The man came closer. He saw their bare feet, their silver skin, their eyes full of fear. He took off his coat. He gave it to them. He spoke slowly. "You are safe now. No one will hurt you." Here the girls looked at each other. One of them began to cry. The man did not ask more questions. He just looked at the portal behind them. Still glowing, still open. He whispered to himself, "This is not over. Something is coming." The girls did not hear him. They were already falling asleep, safe for the first time. But far away in the forest, in the cold dark, something stepped through the light. Something that did not sleep, not human, but alive. The fire from the sky faded slowly behind the trees as the man carried the two strange girls through the quiet night. His arms were strong but tired. Their silver skin felt cold like morning air on metal. They were light, too light, like they had not eaten real food in many days. He did not speak. He only walked, step after step, through the wet grass. His boots left deep marks in the mud. The house ahead was small and hidden, half covered in trees, old but safe. He opened the door with his shoulder and walked in. The room smelled like old paper and wood. There were machines on the table, tools on the wall, screens showing stars and maps. He placed the girls on a warm blanket. He covered them with his coat. He sat down on the floor beside them and watched them breathe. One of the screens blinked. Portal energy detected unknown life forms present. Possible danger. He ignored it. He looked at the girls again. One of them moved. She opened her eyes slowly. Her pupils changed shape in the low light. Not human, but scared. She whispered something. He could not understand the words, but the fear was clear. He raised his hand slowly, not to scare her. He spoke softly, "You are safe here. I will not hurt you." She blinked and looked around her. Sister was next to her, sleeping alive. She tried to sit up, but her arms were weak. She fell back. He stood and brought water in a metal cup. He held it near her mouth. She looked at it with wide eyes, then she drank. Her body shook as the water touched her lips, like it was the first real thing she had ever tasted. She looked up at the man. Her voice was quiet and broken. "You are human." He nodded once. "Yes, I am. Are you?" She shook her head. "No, not full. Part of us. Maybe not sure." He leaned forward. "Part human." "What do you mean?" She looked down. "We were made, not born in lab for test energy power pain." Her hands were shaking now. She looked at her sister and touched her face gently. "She is weak, needs help." The man stood and turned to the machine wall. He pressed. A few buttons. Scans started. Light moved across the girl's body. Heart rate low, blood thin, organs weak. He moved quickly, opened a drawer, pulled out a small tube. He placed it against the girl's neck and pressed. A soft hiss of air. The medicine flowed in. The sleeping girl gasped, then coughed, then opened her eyes. She looked around. Her eyes locked on the man. She tried to move away, but her sister held her hand. "He helped us. He gave water." The man spoke again. "What is your name?" The first girl looked confused. "We were never given name, only number." He sat down again. "You can choose your name now. You are free here." They looked at each other, silent. Then the first girl said, "I want name. Can I be called Lyra?" The man smiled. "Lyra, that is a good name." "And you?" Second girl thought longer. Her eyes blinked slowly. She whispered, "Nora, call me Nora." "Lyra and Nora." He repeated the names so they would feel real. Suddenly, one of the screens turned red. Warning. Something has crossed the portal. Unidentified. Machine signature. The man stood fast. He looked at the screen. A shadow moved across the trees. Too fast, too quiet. The hunter. He walked to a metal box, opened it. Inside was an old weapon. He picked it up and checked the charge. Not full, but enough. Lyra saw his face. She knew what it meant. They followed. They always follow. The man moved to the door, locked it. He placed a sensor at the window, then turned to the girls. "You are not safe yet, but I will protect you." Lyra tried to stand. Her legs failed. Nora held her up. "We will not go back. We will die first." He nodded. "You do not have to go back." Outside, the forest was too quiet. The wind had stopped. No birds, no animals, only silence. The man stepped outside, his weapon ready. He scanned the trees. A sound came from the left, slow and deep, like metal breathing. He raised his weapon. "Show yourself." From the shadows a shape appeared, tall, thin, with eyes that glowed like fire. The man whispered, "You are not welcome here." The machine stepped forward. Its voice was flat. "Return subjects or face destruction." The man did not move. He looked behind at the girls inside, then back at the machine. He spoke with fire in his voice. "They are not your subjects. They are people, and they are home now." The chase across Earth City lights danced in puddles as the rain began to fall. The streets were empty and quiet, except for one sound: tires moving fast. A black truck cutting through the night. Inside the truck were three figures. Two girls with silver skin and glowing eyes. One man with tired hands and a fire in his chest ray held the steering wheel tight. As he looked into the mirror, behind them was a flash of red. Not from police, not from another car, from something not human, from something hunting. Lyra sat in the back holding Nora's hand. Nora was breathing hard. Her chest rose and fell too fast. Her skin was turning pale. Ray looked back and spoke over the engine noise. "Is she okay?" Lyra shook her head. "She needs rest. She needs heat. She is too weak." Ray nodded, impressed. "The pedal down harder. We will stop soon. Just hold on. I know a place." The red light behind them grew closer. It floated in the air like an eye. It never blinked, never slowed. It was the hunter, and it was learning fast. They turned off the main road and drove into the hills. Dark trees rose around them. Fog touched the windshield. Ray turned off the headlights. He moved by memory now. He pulled into a garage hidden behind an old barn. He shut the engine and jumped out. He opened the back door and lifted Nora in his arms. She was burning up. Lyra followed fast. Her feet barely touched the ground. They entered the barn through a narrow metal door. Inside was a warm room, old wood and old tools. A heater in the corner, a soft light hanging from the ceiling. Ray placed Nora on a bed and covered her with 2 blankets. Lyra sat beside her and wiped her face with a wet cloth. Ray opened a metal case. Inside were vials and tubes. He pulled one and injected it into Nora's arm. She will sleep now, he said. But she will live. Lyra looked up. Her eyes were full of worry. Why do you help us? We are not like you. Ray sat on a stool and looked at the floor. Because I saw fear in your eyes and pain, and because no one helped me when I needed it. Lyra was silent. She looked at her sister and held her hand tight. Outside, the wind had stopped, but the air felt heavy. Something moved in the trees. No sound, only pressure. Like something watching. Ray stood and walked to a screen near the wall. He tapped a button. A satellite image appeared. A red dot was moving fast. It was coming straight for them. He turned back to Lyra. We have 1 hour at most. Then we move again. Lyra nodded. She looked tired. Her eyes closed for a second, then opened fast. A memory came back. A lab full of wires. Machines pulling her mind apart. A voice saying test number 7 begins. She stood and backed away from the bed, her breath short, her body shaking. Ray stepped forward. You are safe now. That world is gone. Lyra looked around. Her voice was quiet. We are not real. We were made to break, to obey, to die. Ray walked closer and placed his hand on her shoulder. You feel pain. You care for your sister. You dream of freedom. That makes you more real than most people I know. Lyra closed her eyes. A tear ran down her cheek. She opened them again and nodded slowly. The screen beeped. 30 minutes left. The hunter was moving faster. Ray opened a hidden door behind the tool wall. It led to a tunnel, dark and narrow. He turned to Lyra. Can you carry her? We cannot drive. Now it will track the sound. Lyra nodded. She lifted Nora with great care. Nora moaned softly, but did not wake. Ray led the way into the tunnel. Each step echoed in the dark. The walls were cold. The air was thin behind them. The barn door exploded open. The hunter stepped inside. Its eyes glowed red, its body black as night. It scanned the room and moved toward the tunnel. Ray heard the sound and stopped. He raised a small remote, pressed a button. A blast closed the tunnel behind them. That will slow it, but not stop it. Lyra looked at him. How far is the end? Not far. We will reach my friend's house soon. He has a ship. We will go far from here. They walked in silence, only the sound of their steps and Nora's slow breathing at the end of the tunnel. A light appeared, warm yellow light. A door opened, and a man stood there. Older than Ray, wearing glasses, holding a strange device. Ray smiled. Hello, Max. I need a favor. Max looked at the girls, his eyes wide. Are they the reason the stars changed last night? Ray nodded. Yes, and they are the reason I still believe in something good. Max stepped aside and waved them in, then closed the door behind them. Far behind, the hunter reached the wall. Its eyes blinked, its hands burned. It began to dig through the stone. It would not stop, not until the hunt was over. Memories are pain. The night was quiet, but her mind was not. Lyra lay on a soft bed inside Max's house, a room filled with strange lights and old books. Nora slept beside her, breathing slow and calm. But Lyra could not sleep, not with the voices in her head, not with the memories that burned like fire. She closed her eyes and tried to think of Earth, the trees they passed, the sky that moved so fast, the sound of water, the smell of bread, the the voice of Ray when he said you are safe here. But the moment peace touched her mind, the pain returned. Cold hands holding her arms, white lights above her, voices saying begin test. Pain in her bones, machines inside her blood, a screen that showed numbers going higher and higher, and her sister crying on the other side of the glass. Lyra opened her eyes and sat up. She looked at Nora, her face calm now, but the lines of fear were still there. Even in sleep, Nora whispered something, a name or a number. Ray sat in the hallway near the door. He looked up when he heard movement. He stood and stepped into the room. Are you okay? He asked in a soft voice. Lyra nodded, but her eyes said something else. She looked at the wall, she looked at her hands, she looked at the mirror in the corner. Do I look human? She asked. Ray walked to the chair and sat down. He looked at her carefully. You look like someone trying to find herself. That is the most human thing I know. Lyra blinked. Her throat tightened. Why do I remember pain more than joy? Why do I see wires when I close my eyes? Why do I feel nothing when I try to laugh? Ray leaned forward. Because they tried to break you. Because they feared what you could become, and because no one ever showed you love before. Lyra looked at Nora. I wanted to protect her, but I was weak. I watched them hurt her. I couldn't stop it. Ray placed his hand on her shoulder. You survived. You brought her out. That takes strength most people never find. She nodded slowly, then she looked up. Will it ever stop the memories? The fear. Ray paused. No, but they can grow smaller. And better ones can grow stronger. Lyra stood and walked to the window. She looked at the stars. They looked free, but they reminded her of the ceiling of the lab. Painted stars made to control the mind. Fake sky for broken minds. Ray stepped beside her. Do you know what I see? I see two girls who came from another world, fought machines, crossed stars, survived pain, and now stand beside me in my world. Lyra looked at him. Do you still believe we are real, even after everything? Ray nodded. I have never believed anything more. In the next room, Max was working fast, his hands moving over screens, his glasses glowing blue. He pulled up old data portals. Energy waves. Hunter signatures. Ray entered the room. Is it close? Max nodded. It is 1 mile away, but it is not moving fast. It is scanning, searching for weakness. Ray leaned on the table. We need to move again. Soon. This house is not safe. Max looked at him. Where will you go? Ray pointed to a map. There's a safe zone in the north. Old lab shut down years ago. I built half of it. No one will find us there. Back in the room, Lyra was helping Nora drink water, her hands careful, her voice calm. Nora opened her eyes. Where are we? Safe, Lyra said. For now. Nora looked at her. Do you still hear the voices? Lyra smiled for the first time. Only your voice now. Nora tried to sit up but winced. My chest hurts. Lyra placed a hand over her heart. That means it still works. Ray walked in. He looked at the girls. Time to move again. Pack only what you need. Nora looked weak, but she nodded. We are ready. Max gave Ray a small device. If you press this, the tunnel behind you will close. They will not follow fast. Ray thanked him. Max looked at the girls. Take care of each other. You are not machines. You are not weapons. You are people, and people can choose who they become. They stepped out of the house under the morning sky. The wind touched their faces, cold but real. The road ahead was long and quiet. Lyra looked at Ray. Why do you help us so much? Ray smiled. Because long ago someone helped me when I felt lost. Now I help you. That is how we stay human. Far behind them, the hunter stood near the edge of the forest. Its red eyes blinked slowly. It saw the footprints. It smelled the heat trail. It turned its head and began to move again. Not fast, not angry, just sure. Sure that the hunt was not over yet. Hope runs in blood. The snow fell quietly on the roof of the old lab hidden deep in the mountains. Its walls were cracked, its windows covered in frost. But inside there was warmth and silence and secrets waiting in the dark. Ray moved through the hall with a scanner in one hand. Lyra followed him slowly, her eyes wide as she looked at the strange machines. Some were broken, some still hummed with forgotten energy. She reached out and touched one. It lit up for a second and whispered her name. Not Lyra, but the number she had before. She pulled her hand back fast. Ray turned around. Are you okay? She nodded but did not speak. The machine had remembered her, even here, even now in the next room. Nora was lying on a medical table, her eyes half open, her breath slow but steady. Max stood beside her holding a blood scanner. He frowned as he looked at the screen. Ray entered. What did you find? Max turned the screen so Ray could see their DNA is not fully alien, not fully human either, but there is something else, something familiar, and something old. Lyra stepped forward. What do you mean? Max looked at her. There is a human code inside your blood, not added, not copied, born with it, as if someone used real human DNA to make you. Ray stared at the screen. Whose DNA? Max shrugged. No way to know yet. But if it came from Earth, then these girls are not just visitors. They are part of this world too. Lyra walked to Nora. She took her hand, her voice soft. We belong somewhere. We are not broken. Ray looked at Max. What if they are not the only ones? What if there are others like them? Max paused. If this code came from stolen human samples, there could be more hidden, lost, still waiting. Ray looked out the window, snow still falling. The hunter would find them, maybe not today, but soon. We need to send a message to the world, to others like them, Ray said. Max raised an eyebrow. You want to go public? Not yet, but someone out there needs to know they are not alone. Lyra looked up. What if no one listens? What if they fear us? Ray smiled. Then we speak louder. Hope needs a voice. Later that night, Lyra sat beside a small heater. She held an old photo she found in the lab. It showed people in white coats, smiling. One of them looked like Ray. You were here before. She asked. Ray nodded. I helped build this place, long before the war, long before the portals. She looked at the picture again. Do you think the people who made us wanted us to feel pain? Ray sat beside her. Maybe. Or maybe they wanted to create something perfect and forgot what makes life real. What is that? She asked. Ray answered without thinking. Choice. The power to choose your path, your name, your story. Lyra looked at the fire, then at Nora, then back at Ray. I want to choose something different. He nodded. Then choose hope. In the dark part of the lab, Max was scanning old files. One screen flickered and came alive. A face appeared, not human, but speaking in an Earth language. Project Echo Phase 3. Target complete. Prepare next generation. Max froze. He saved the file fast and ran to Ray. We were wrong. This lab was not abandoned. It was shut down. During a cover operation, someone wanted this project buried, and now they will want it erased. Ray looked at the screen. And now they know we are here. Lyra stood up. Then we go. Now Ray held her arm. No, we wait till morning. We move when Nora is strong enough. Suddenly, the lights blinked. The ground shook softly. Max looked at the scanner. No movement outside. But something is near. Ray turned to Lyra. Get Nora ready. We move in 10 minutes. In the cold forest, the hunter stood still, its eyes glowing in the white snow. It did not chase. It waited. In its hand was a small device. A signal pulsed from it. A call, not for help, but for others, back inside the lab. Nora opened her eyes fully. She looked stronger. She sat up slowly and smiled at Lyra. I had a dream. I saw a field with light, and I was not afraid. Lyra helped her stand. That is not a dream. That is where we are going. Ray opened a door to a hidden tunnel. Max handed him a pack. Inside were food tools and a small glowing orb. What is this? Ray asked. Max smiled. Hope in solid form. Throw it when you are out of options. Stepped into the tunnel one by one. Ray, then Lyra holding Nora, then Max. The door closed behind them. The lab was silent again. But the snow outside had stopped falling above the trees. A new light was rising. Not the sun, but something else. A signal, a warning, or maybe a call. Hope was running now in their blood, in their breath, in the fire behind their eyes, and nothing could stop. It returned to the lab. The desert wind cut across the broken land like a knife through paper. The ground was dry and cracked. Nothing grew here. Nothing lived here. But something had once been born in this place, and now it waited beneath the dust. Ray stood at the edge of a dead valley with Lyra and Nora by his side. Max watched the sky from the old rover parked behind them. A silent sun hovered above their heads, and far ahead, half buried in rock and silence, was the lab. Not the safe one, not the one they ran to. This was the one they had escaped from, the place where pain had a face, where names were numbers, where love was a weakness, and silence was survival. Lyra looked at Nora. Her sister's eyes were steady now, stronger than before. Not afraid, not frozen. Ready. Are you sure you want to do this? Ray asked. Lyra nodded once. If we run forever, they win. If we end it here, others may never need to run. Nora stepped forward. Her voice was calm. There are more like us. We saw them in the lower levels, still asleep, still waiting. Ray checked his gear. The wind blew dust across his boots. No sound came from the lab. No alarms. No lights. Just quiet. Max opened the back of the rover and handed each of them a pulse stick, strong enough to break any door or disable a drone. Ray took one and slipped it into his coat. You will need to go deep, Max said. The system is buried under 30 floors. Maybe more security is old, but smart. Ray nodded. We only need one chance, one door, one signal. Lyra turned to Nora. If we find them, do we wake them? Nora looked down, then raised her eyes. If we don't, no one will. They walked across the dry ground, their shadows long in the sun. The entrance to the lab was hidden by metal wreckage and broken towers. Ray touched a scanner and it blinked red, then green. Welcome back, a machine voice said. The door opened slowly. Air hissed out like a sigh. They stepped inside. The hallway was dark and narrow, walls scratched with symbols. Lyra stopped and touched one. I made this, she whispered. Before I knew who I was. Ray placed a hand on her back. You know, now that is enough. They moved through the hall in silence. Nora breathing steady, Lyra watching every corner, Ray listening for movement on the 3rd level. They found the first guard bot. It stood still in the dark, eyes black, energy dead. Ray checked it with a scanner. No threat, he said. Too old. On the 10th level, they found rooms full of old data cores. Max's signal pinged. He sent a message. Upload the evidence. Show the world what they did. Lyra pulled a cable and connected it. The files unlocked one by one. Images of children in tanks, machines cutting skin, voices calling names that were not names. She looked away, then pressed send. Outside, Max watched his screen. Upload complete. He sent the message to every channel, every satellite, every hidden network. The truth was out now, even if they failed. The world would know. Ray turned to the girls. Now we go deeper, to the chamber. They reached a long tunnel lit by white lights. At the end was a thick glass door. Behind it were rows of sleeping bodies, young faces still pale, waiting. Nora walked to the door, her hand pressed flat against the glass. Her voice broke. They look like us. Ray tapped the panel. No code worked. No key accepted. We need to break it, he said. Lyra stepped back and raised her pulse stick. She looked at the faces one more time, then swung the glass. Shattered like ice-cold. Air spilled out. The chamber hissed and blinked. The children did not wake. Nora moved first. She touched a small panel, lit it up, found the activation code. Names appeared, real names, not numbers. She smiled through tears. They gave them names. Before the silence, one by one the tanks opened slowly, softly, like breathing for the first time. The children began to move, eyes opening, hands reaching. Lyra whispered, "We are not the last." Suddenly the ground shook. An alarm sounded. Ray turned fast. The hunter has arrived. They had minutes, maybe less. Ray gave Nora a pulse stick. Defend them. If one fall, he gave Lyra a signal orb. Use this if we are surrounded. They ran to the exit with the children following. Too many to carry, too weak to run fast. The lights went red. The walls closed behind them. Ray turned, saw the shadow coming, metal legs, red eyes, cold silence. Ray shouted, "I will stop it. You get them out." Lyra stopped. "No, we stop it together." She threw the orb at the wall. A wave of light pushed the shadow back. Ray raised his pulse stick. Lyra raised hers, side by side. The hunter stepped forward, but they did not move. Nora led the children to the top floor. Max opened the gate. They spilled into the sun. One by one they turned to see the door still closed. Then it opened. Ray and Lyra stood there, breathing, heart alive. Nora smiled, and the wind finally felt warm. "Both of you come home." The wind carried no sound across the valley, only light, only dust, only stillness after the storm. The sun was rising slow behind the hills, touching the broken lab, touching the faces of the children, touching the sisters who had lived without names. Lyra stood on the edge of the hill with Nora beside her. Behind them, Max helped the children into the trucks. Ray stood alone near the gate. His clothes were torn, his hands burned, but his eyes were full of light. "You made it," he said. Lyra nodded. "We all did." Nora leaned on her sister, her body weak, but her heart strong. Ray walked toward them, his voice low, his words simple, but they carried weight. "The world knows now." The message went out. People are coming, some to help, some To ask questions. Some may not understand. Lyra looked at the sky. So what do we do now? Ray looked at both of them. We go home. Nora blinked. Home? Where is that? Ray pointed to the road. Wherever you feel safe, wherever you are wanted, wherever your name means something real. They walked down together through the wind, through the dust, past the children, past the broken machines. Max handed Lyra a small device. They will try to control the story. This keeps the truth safe. Guard it. Well, Lyra held the device tight, her fingers shaking slightly. A child tugged on Nora's coat. Are you our leader now? The little voice asked. Nora knelt down, her eyes soft. No, we are family now. And family walks together. One truck engine started. The sound was deep, old, but strong. Like the people now climbing inside. Ray opened the back door for Lyra and Nora. But Lyra did not move. She looked back one last time. She saw the lab far in the distance. No longer a cage, now just ruins, a memory left to crumble in silence. Ray stepped beside her. It does not own you anymore. She nodded slowly, then stepped inside the truck. They drove for hours through empty land, through quiet hills. Children sleeping in each other's arms. Max talking softly to someone on the radio. Ray keeping one hand on the wheel, one eye on the sky. Lyra and Nora sat close together. No more wires, no more glass, no more fake skies above their heads. Just road, just air, just life. As the sun began to fall again, they reached the edge of a small town. Not big, not loud, but alive. People stood waiting, some with questions, some with fear, some with open arms. Ray stepped out first. He raised both hands. He said only one thing. They are not what you think. They are not dangerous. They are not enemies. They are children. They are survivors, and they are not alone anymore. The crowd was silent. Then a woman stepped forward. She looked at Lyra, then at Nora, then at the children. She dropped to her knees and opened her arms. A little boy ran into them, and the crowd began to move, not with fear, with kindness. Blankets, water, names, spoken gifts offered. Ray smiled. This is what I wanted you to see. Lyra turned to Nora. Do you feel it now? Nora smiled back. Yes, we are home. Days passed. The children were given beds and real food and names that were not numbers. Lyra helped teach them how to read, how to dream, how to laugh. Nora planted a tree behind the school. She said it would grow like them, strong and reaching toward light. Ray was offered medals and interviews. He turned them down. He stayed close to the ones he chose to protect. One day a news camera asked him why he did it. He answered without thinking, because two girls with no name, no clothes, no hope, looked at me like I was the sky, and I could not turn away. Later that evening he stood outside the school where the children now learned. Lyra and Nora walked up behind him. They watched the sunset in silence. Looked at them. You do not have to stay here. You can go anywhere. Nora shook her head. We found our place. Lyra stepped forward. You said it to us once. Now we say it to you. She smiled. Both of you come home. They walked inside. All three of them no longer lost, no longer hunted. The wind moved through the trees. The stars began to rise, real stars, not painted on a ceiling. The town lights blinked on, soft and warm, one by one, like new hearts waking up. And far in the sky, a signal still moved quietly, not a warning, not a weapon, just a message written in silence. You are not alone. You were never alone.